Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to today's Water Cooler Chat, where we talk about all things Livepeer, whether it's delegating, orchestrating, broadcasting, gatewaying, AI inference, or developing. Anything to do with the Livepeer ecosystem, we're here to ask questions and get answers. We've got a couple topics ahead of us. The Treasury LPT cap, Discord security, questions about current live proposals, and who is driving demand to the Livepeer network. So let's kick us off real quick with a couple of housekeeping items and general things. So, and you had yours around Discord security. Could you kick us off really what your topic is and what you've been working on and give us an update?
Sure. Yeah. So there's kind of two pieces of that. One was the rules and moderation that I posted in governance. Um, Originally, I was going to post it today. However, we had a kind of commentary in general about a degen channel. So I'm just kind of considering that in the structure of it, and I don't want to publish the rules since we had some disagreements in the community there, and figuring out how we can move forward. So that's the first piece of security, and that's not necessarily like infrastructural security, right? That's more just security of how do we treat each other, how do we interact with each other here at in the Livepeer community. The second piece is from an infrastructural standpoint, meaning we get a ton of bots, a ton of spam, right? As we know, the spam and phishing channel is super active, and that to me shows that we need to have a better onboarding, better onboarding experience from a security standpoint. So I'm going to start exploring different options. So if anyone has their favorite verification bot, the one limitation is I do want it to be off-chain, since they're going to be an AI persona that won't be Web3 focused in the community moving forward, AI developers. So yeah, basically I'm now going to be exploring that, and at latest January to implement that, and soonest maybe middle of December, depending just on priorities over at Inc. So yeah, those are the two pieces, and open to any thoughts, feedback. I know it's kind of a big topic, but yeah.
Yeah, thanks for the updates and what you've been working on. I really like this idea of just like Discord management is already like a full-time job in itself. Someone figuring it out. Discord is when I first got into it, Discord, I think it was just all about gamers. It was such a simple app. Now it's like a social media in itself. So thank you for taking that on and doing that. Let's talk about your first topic, which was about the degen channel. For those that don't know, since I've joined, LPT price speculation has been basically a non-allowed topic in Discord. If people want to speculate about the price of LPT, that was always sent to the Telegram channel where people can rant and rave all about their trading activity. So I guess what you're proposing is some sort of channel where we can include that type of discussion into a separate channel in Discord. Does anyone else have any thoughts about this type of conduct? Do we want to allow it in Discord, partition it in a certain area, or are we best to still keep it away from our technical discussions with Discord? If anyone wants to jump in, share their opinion.
But I can start off with my thoughts if people are interested.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Oh, Mike, welcome up. Do you have thoughts?
No, I was having mic problems. I think I was just testing it.
Sorry.
So it sounds good now.
Okay. Yeah. So I think the way I think about it is, I think speculation is challenging from a community perspective, right? My kind of perspective on community building is monetary is good, but not where true community is built. Community is built around movements and feelings and, you know, dreams and, you know, those type of more squishy things. That is what really gets people to bond together around something. Um, so I think that, you know, kind of price speculation is one of those things where it's challenging to bring it into community. And this is why most projects in the industry don't allow it. Um, However, I think it's not necessarily bad, right? I don't think speculation is bad. It's just more about how do we make it so if people don't want to have that experience, they don't have to. And, you know, role gating is a really simple way of doing that, right? You have to select into that experience. And I think the other piece, and this is something I have to kind of talk with folks at Inc. about, is from the legal perspective. Which again, I'm not a lawyer, so um, yeah, gotta connect on that.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Awesome. I was just going to say that I think the idea of turning people away from the Discord when they come in and ask about price is just sort of a nasty side effect of this kind of rule. I don't think it's a good thing to tell people to go somewhere else just because they want to know about the LPT price. And I don't think it would be a big deal if this wasn't an ecosystem for delegators as well. And I think delegators want to know about the price, and that's pretty much all they care about. And if we're trying to attract them to Discord to be part of the community, then we can't turn them away when they come in and ask about, you know, why pump or why dump.
Yeah, I would say that over the years, yeah, just to echo that, is we have pushed quite a few people maybe away from our Discord to Telegram, where the conversation in Telegram is a lot less deep. And so one of the reasons I would say that we should add a degen channel or a price speculative channel, some kind of, is maybe speculators. So one is maybe speculators would come in and they would have a more intelligent discussion because people in the Discord are more aware of the actual inner workings of the token and how things work. And then maybe it would also bring them into join a water cooler chat where we could educate them on the actual project itself. And so while they came for speculation, they stayed for the technical and the community, right? Whereas when we push them to Telegram, I mean, there's probably a very low chance of them wanting to come join a water cooler chat and do a deeper dive, right? So you know, there's that aspect.
Yeah, and if I could,
yeah.
oh, God, I thought you finished. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. No, you're good.
I was just gonna say that, you know, I think I agree with that sentiment, and I talked to Noel earlier as well, where, you know, somebody going to the Telegram at its current, you know, point is not going to foster a sense of community, right? That the Telegram is not being moderated in the way it needs to be, and that's something I'm thinking about as well. But I think there is a high chance that if someone, you know, is a delegator, then we can kind of pull them deeper into the community. I think the requisite thing to do is build that community journey, or more specifically, the delegator journey, and how that can be a compelling experience. And like you said, maybe water cooler is the first touch point of that Titan, and, you know, different conversations and governance, and how to pull people deeper in and get more engaged community members. So I think that is something I'm kind of thinking about right now. There's still a few questions I need answered, just from the internal ink side. But I think that can work. I don't think I've seen it done, at least in my time. And I'm curious if other people have seen it done. I know that Osman in the chat talked about Avalanche, like an anything goes channel. I don't know if it says used to have. So I think that that's kind of the situation there, where it's like, I don't think any of the major projects in the industry have a speculation channel, but I could be wrong. So correct me if I am.
I haven't.
Well, I can tell you. Oh, go ahead, Ted.
No. You go.
I was going to say, I can tell you one thing. Arbitrum has a like main chat channel, and they might not have a DGen channel, but I ended up getting scammed roughly $60,000 from some guy in that channel. So doesn't, just because Discord doesn't have a DGen channel, it doesn't mean there aren't going to be people trying to use every channel as a DGen channel and screwing people over. So
Actually, yeah,
Sorry that happened.
you
Jeez.
mentioned that as well as it's great if we had a DGen channel to put them to, but like you said, it might spill over, so people are like, oh, I'll just talk about price in general channel because hey, and then all of a sudden you get these like wild conversations spamming general, whereas they might get shut down quicker because it's like hey, out of Discord, you got to go somewhere else. Whereas if it's like hey, you got to go to this channel, it's a bit harder for people to like they might go to that channel, and I hope they would, but it might be harder to contain it to the channel.
So one option, we have bots, right? So we can potentially do moderation in the other channels that disallow specific mention of like, I'd have to figure out like the exact like flow of it, but maybe a weaker example could be, in any other channel you can't use like the $sign. And only in the DGen channel can you use that, so it kind of disallows that talk. The other option is again the role gating. Rick, so to your comment, yeah, so my perspective is it wouldn't be visible to everybody. You'd have to select the DGen role to see the channel. So unless you opted in, you wouldn't see it. I think from a moderation side, at least on my end, I feel like we can make that work. It might take a little bit more labor, but I think as we develop the culture around that channel, if we decide to do it, people will, kind of self-select, say, hey, that's not welcome here, go here. So it won't just have to be, me directing, but yeah, yeah.
I
think you can. Oh, sorry. Go.
And only.
Oh, Doug, you're super quiet.
Can't hear me?
A little bit better.
Just speak louder. That's all. There you go.
1 second.
Give that a go.
Mic check. Am I coming through loud and clear?
Yeah, that's
Okay, now
better.
it's better.
Okay. So I think the idea that the channel is only visible to those who opt in is interesting, that people have to opt in if they want to see it is interesting. One thing I want to keep in mind too, as we're actually trying to create like the leading platform for real-time AI video pipelines and attract developers and tinkers and hackers who are creating these pipelines, running them, showcasing really awesome like AI video outputs and whatnot. That's not everyone is going to overlap with a delegator or token oriented profile, right? And if their first experience or very early experience is seeing like the degen type stuff spilling over, especially, or even if it doesn't spill over, but in a like very publicly visible by default channel, it might be confusing, it might be a turn off, right? Whereas if you look at our Discord now, it's very welcoming and engaging around the deep technical content that goes to actually like building and running AI pipelines on nodes and experimenting with different GPU settings and showcasing the outputs from these models and whatnot. So I really want to keep that front and center. So I think if you are going to consider adding a channel for talk about the token specifically, I think the idea of like role gating it where people have to opt in is interesting option.
Yeah, and
I would.
oh, go ahead. No.
I was going to say I would oppose that slightly just by saying that I think, while you want all these people here to build, the degens are usually the users, and it would be great to have them here too, so that when all these pipelines come out and all these cool applications come out, there's a user base already in Discord ready to jump in and give it a shot and see what they can do with it. It would be rough to have to turn that user base away.
Yeah, and I
Well,
think
users in what sense? Like, are they building AI video applications?
Well, the developers who come in and the hackers and the tinkerers who are building, applications themselves and pipelines and use cases, they're going to need people to use them and test them. And those aren't other developers necessarily. Those are usually the degens who are looking for applications to consume. They're the consumers.
I just want to follow. You're saying the token holder degen speculator is more likely to be a user of an AI video application than I don't know, another profile.
Yeah. I would say in this market, in Web3 in general, like the consumers, the ones who are chasing token gains and speculating about price, are the ones who are hopping around trying different products versus the actual builders and developers that are building them.
Yeah,
and
I'd
to,
echo
to
that as well.
yeah, I was gonna echo it too. Like to Noel's point, right? If someone's a holder, there's an incentive to potentially um, promote, invest into our ecosystem. So an example of this would be if someone's holding LPT, and then there's a really cool pipeline that's like compute intensive, and it's productized or whatever, and then everyone who's holding LPT is sharing that out and saying like, oh, try out this new thing. They don't even have to necessarily shill Livepeer, but try this out, and that could generate demand. So I think that I do see that within the holder persona, that does make sense.
But that is a can of worms. Have you seen the degens?
I know. So I think that it's it's just it's a tricky situation because um like Doug's saying, like it's kind of like, well, what is the culture we're building here, and what is the spillover? Like, what is the chance of it spilling over? Um, and but again, like you can't ignore that, like that is a huge part of the industry. So, what that looks like, I think role gating it would be effective. Again, at least that's my personal perspective. However, you always run the risk of, if you open the can of worms, right? You open the can of worms.
There are also some bots that can help with this and some tools. I think even Rick was developing something where certain keywords in a channel would just trigger a response from the bot, like, "Hey, you're trying to talk about this. Please go here, grab the role."
Yeah.
So it just automates the moderation a bit. But yeah, everything's valid in my opinion. All the concerns.
Yeah, and definitely from a moderation perspective, like keywords, like kind of numerical stuff, we can make sure that it is picked up. And I mean, as we're running AI stuff, maybe that's a perfect match for that. But yeah, I don't know. So I'm still kind of like mulling it over myself and kind of deciding like what structure might make the most sense there. Like I said, there's some due diligence things I need to do still, but um, but yeah, again, like the Telegram, at its current point, right? I haven't owned that yet, but at its current point, like I'm not sure you can have a meaningful conversation there, due to like all of the kind of spam that's happening. So one of my tasks probably next week will be, kind of figuring out ownership of that and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I will say, like, during the bear market or during quiet times, not much volatility, I think it can be quite managed in chat, in Discord. You just kind of politely say, "Hey, listen, go to that channel where people are talking about speculation." I know I would be in that channel. I'd be saying things and trying to just have some fun and talk about price but at the same time, when volatility does increase, I mean, if you were here for the last 2021 run up of Livepeer Telegram, like it was just chaos. It was it was quite entertaining. And so if you allow that at all into Discord, like it's gonna spill, like it's like a volcano. So
Yeah.
it's kind of temporary and it's kind of fun and it doesn't distract the developers. I don't know, but the other question is if they have a channel to discuss speculation, are we going to are people allowed to have that topic in a water cooler chat or something like this, or am I just gonna continue to refer them to the channel? Listen, we can, price speculation talk isn't for the water cooler, but
a degen event.
But I mean, hey, if someone's willing to come up here with their microphone and explain some interesting formula they have, like, to me, I'd be okay with that personally. It's mostly just the keyboard warriors that really ruin it for everybody.
Yeah, it's definitely like it's something to think about, and I think if it is something we like choose to create, I would view it as like an experiment and seeing what happens. But I think to Doug's point, right? If it jeopardizes the kind of push that we're doing at Inc. currently, then I think that's like an experiment that is not successful. But again, right, I do think there are automating and gating things that can be done. And that's like an interesting design space, if you want to call it that, from a community perspective of like, is it possible to have these two things coexisting in a respectful way? And I think that's the key word, right? Like, can we build a respectful degen culture of like, hey, it's not just about that. I don't know. I'm not really, like I was saying this to Null when I was talking to them about this or to him about this. I was just saying that, like, is that real? Because is like a respectful degen culture a thing? Because for me, I'm like a traditional investor where it's like, give me my S&P 500, broad basket, like coin 50 is super fun. It's like, give me that and I don't need to check every day. So, so I'm, I don't have a ton of experience in that realm.
Yeah, I open CoinMarketCap hourly, so I'm probably not the right person to talk to when it comes to that. I will say though that when I first joined Livepeer as a community member, I joined the Discord, and I saw that LPT price speculation was forbidden topic within Discord. It gave me a level of respect towards the project that I didn't have for every other project. So it made me more interested in being a part of the community because of its seriousness to the tech.
And I think that's what I was saying before, right? Like, if you look at the top, like 200 tokens in the industry, maybe there's a few exceptions, and I could do a more in-depth analysis from the community perspective if people are interested in that. But like, I would argue that the vast majority, like maybe 90%, again, making that number up. So but that's just my feeling. 90% disallow. And people just find their own channels, create their own channels to talk about it. And from my perspective, right, like as someone who's been in the industry for almost 5 years now, when I'm evaluating a project, right, I tend to be more like Titan, where I'm like, okay, if we're speculating here, well, what's the seriousness? But I'm a more kind of serious person, so I try to like temper myself with like, well, that's not the only way to be, but that is definitely um, like the tone I've always taken when I have been looking at projects in the past and what projects are serious, quote unquote, and quote unquote not serious. So I think that there's like the flip side of, it might open one audience but close another audience. And maybe that's to your point, Doug. Maybe that's kind of what you're where the worry comes in.
You also briefly mentioned, and that there might be a legal issue with Livepeer Inc. allowing that. I think Livepeer Inc. needs to get their legal counsel to figure out whether this is going to impact them, and make a decision on that as well. Because that, I mean, there's no point of even continuing this conversation if there's like
Agreed.
real legal implications of like tied in with your technology is speculative talk or speculation of some kind.
Yeah.
So there's that to consider. Anyway, we've been talking about this for a while. Doug,
I'm sorry, open the can of worms.
Yeah, no. It's a good can of worms. Listen, if you open the can, like I'm jumping into the can. Like I'm gonna be in that channel. I'm gonna be making probably a YouTube video talking about price talk, and I'll post it in there. Like, yeah, I'm gonna participate, right? But you know, it I mean, it doesn't bother me not to, right? So, yeah. Does anyone else have any conversation or opinions on allowing price talk in Discord? Okay, well, we'll leave it at that. And if you want to continue down that path of figuring out kind of the legalities of it and then still continuing to source feedback, I know a lot of people probably are not wanting to jump in too much on this topic, but yeah, it's an interesting topic to bring up. And we've been doing well for the last 9 years without it, so maybe 8 years. What are we at? You without it, so you know, maybe just, you know, continue as is. Okay.
Awesome.
What was
Thank you
your
for the
second
feedback,
topic,
everybody.
N? What was that? What was something about something else or?
I don't. Let me see if I can remember. Sorry, I'm thinking about the rules. I think it was about AI community. So some changes coming to the Discord. Again, not going to affect people very much, but just kind of building out that AI community space. So I don't know if people have any questions. Again, it's not the exacts aren't set in stone yet. So I can do more general if people have questions or if people want me to give a general overview of what's going on. But yeah, that was the other topic.
Right, just making it more AI focused kind of community.
Correct.
In how we would integrate that. Yeah, because when I joined again, it was just transcoding was the topic. So have topic. Yeah, I don't know. I think we can circle back to that and maybe put out a post kind of clarifying what you're referring to and jump into some opinions on that. Okay, awesome. Let's continue on. We've got some other. So the next set of topics are kind of around Treasury, and then lastly, who's driving demand. So we have So my topic is around the LPT cap in the Treasury, but we have OriginStory here, who has a live proposal. So I wanted to quickly invite maybe OriginStory to tell us. I know last week we did a whole Q&A session on the proposal. Can you tell us a little bit? Can you give us an update on your proposal? It looks like you posted it, and it's live. Do you have any questions or concerns or anything you'd like to address, OriginStory?
Hey, yeah, one, actually, I was just thinking about like why education is so important, especially in this new wave of people who are entering the space, because you also will face, like, I don't know if you've seen this stuff on Pump Fun or like is live streaming with people hanging themselves and like the absurdity because people want capital, need capital, which is what like allures them into crypto in general. So I think this next phase and something we'd missed out in the last kind of like emergent technology that was coming out of, let's say, blockchain, which was NFTs, was this application or this educational layer. We went straight to like a marketing layer. And as a result, a lot of the public still doesn't really understand what's going on. And I think the same is where we're kind of headed with a lot of artificial intelligence and machine learning, because it's about trying to sell a final product to them and get user retention instead of really being as transformative moment. So yeah, so I guess talking about our proposal and the thoughts that we put forward, I just dropped, apologies because I can't tell if I'm not giving enough information, but I just put a lot of information now also in the governance sub chat, based off of some of the feedback, which hopefully is helpful as well. And I dropped some links of just like some things that we've seen or been thinking about in terms of like the economic impact of artificial intelligence, kind of this call to upskill, like from NVIDIA and other people as well, and then really going into depth about like some of our track record and partners and what we plan. And I also put a working budget at the bottom. I think the biggest, well, not the biggest, but one of the pieces that I apologize for, and I guess we could have communicated better. But again, this is something I think maybe is interesting to figure out what is someone's funnel inside of the Discord. Um, After we had our conversation, and basically we started working this proposal like 9 weeks ago, I want to say. Like what we had actually put as how much we wanted to request was based off of how we were trying to figure out what the market price was actually going to be when it arrived, and it was a little bit lower. And up until today it had been staying around that. And so after we had talked also on our side, something that one of the projects that we're working on, we actually had a visit with the theater in Warsaw to talk about extending, from like a December trial to like a full until June, and which also involves workshops and education. And so it felt like, based off of what we actually had set out to accomplish, really thinking about making sure we can cover what happens, to ask for that extra amount. And if you can tell me where I could have put that earlier, I guess I could have just dropped it in governance. That would have been okay, but it would be cool to know, because I felt like, yeah, I really wanted to share it, but I couldn't edit it on the proposal. It was already Friday. We felt really confident about it, and I thought maybe today I could address it in more detail. But I don't want it to feel like we're being like behind the back or transparent. I think even the speculation conversation kind of goes into this a bit. Like a lot of the real world stuff that you build or want to build is going to take longer time. It's not just like, oh, we're going to ship, an agent on Friday and then it's going to be there, and it is moving parts and all of these pieces. And so like trying to really like target what exactly that is going to be at when you convert to fiat, plus like all of the transaction fees and the conversion fee and the all the XYZ blah blah blah, which of course is our responsibility. But that I think also becomes maybe tricky for people in the future as they're trying to plan out something that might happen 6 months in advance or not. That being said, I feel really confident about what we're trying to accomplish. I think we have an incredible team of people that I know personally, plus others we're trying to bring in to set frameworks and also to like really North Star this. So maybe if people have questions or thoughts, I guess a lot of them got cured up or maybe covered in this new chat, but I'm more than happy to dive into something that doesn't seem clear or not specific or anything.
Great, thanks for that update. If you want to head over to there's a thread called the Education Experience SPE Proposal Feedback, where Naomi has posted a number of questions to be answered by the proposer, and it looks like Sean here has posted and addressed a lot of those points in a very long and thorough feedback. I can see that you've made multiple posts. I think that's because you get limited by the amount that you can type in Discord.
Yeah, they wanted me to buy Nitro, and I said not
Yeah,
for
I
this.
know.
Maybe for something.
I actually did buy Nitro, so I'm happy that I can finally get away from this like copy paste space enter shift enter, just all the nonsense of Discord. But anyway, I appreciate the long and in-depth answers to those queries. So yeah, I encourage everyone to go read them, and especially the orchestrators to participate in that governance. Osman says, can you delay this proposal, please? I'm not inclined to say yes to anything when peak bull is as close as 6 months away, maybe earlier. This is like the funniest. Okay, this is a funny. It's like, this is a real, like, can we delay it? Like, no, I don't think there's a way to technically delay it. Once it's posted, it's posted. If it fails, obviously you can just repost again. And then second of all, is that price talk? That is it price speculation? Is that what is that? Is that are we referring you to a specific channel now? Like I don't know. Go to Telegram, or I don't know. I'm just teasing. But that is funny. It is.
I guess my concern or question around it is why would that affect it necessarily? Like rather than thinking about the quarter of the year and how to like make impact and grab demand on the network and to be disruptive in terms of use cases, like 6 months in AI and education and experience is like a long way, especially when like fall.ai just raised like 23 million, Runway's got community programs. Feels like there's a lot of movement towards that. So I guess I mean I totally understand what you mean. Like maybe it's more, but was just curious if it was about something else or like why exactly.
I feel like this is the exact dichotomy of price talk versus like what we had. Like it's like one person's like, yeah, no, I got this proposal. The speculative guy's like, no, wait 6 months. We're gonna top out the bull run. We're gonna time it, and then the guy's sitting there going like, wait, how does that have anything to do with what I'm building? Like, I'm just trying to build something here, right? So I think that's actually the exact dichotomy of it. Is like,
I might have to write out a little thing as what is price talk, so we can be super clear.
Funny enough, Osman, just to counteract that, I think it's actually the opposite. You would want to get the proposal in now, so that in 5 months, if we peak out in price, like you want to, just hold it. But at the same time, OriginStory, like he explained, like what does price have to matter? We got the proposal in for today. The plan is for today. He'll execute on it for what's in front of us, in the here and now, right?
So I have a question on the proposal. I read it. I think it was pretty extensive. It's pretty great. Just there was a lot going on in it, in my opinion. I would love for you, since you're here, to sort of talk about like what are the tangible deliverables look like in a proposal like this? I think how are you planning to drive demand or awareness to Livepeer specifically with this proposal and with this SPE?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for that. So, and I think we have two kind of phases, maybe three. We have the reality of where the market is, where consumers are, where the industry is in general. Like we're building inside it, but we have just like those key realities, like who's adopting AI, like where is it being used in real world applications, where is it going to scale, like where is the signal existing already. And so in that, and we spent like let's say since May of 2023, so about 25 activations and case studies through, like the thing that we continue to find right now is there is no way to experience, understand, or actually like test this magical technology that is AI. The only thing that anyone is really getting that is not at like a user consumer level is like watching it maybe be able to destroy their job in 5 months or in 2 months. And so there's this rush in tech to always find as many end users as possible, which for most technologies like social media, things like that, that can make sense. When we start talking about artificial intelligence, machine learning, especially around like visual or let's say any kind of like text activation, not every person needs those things on a daily basis, which is why it's hard to replicate the same numbers in terms of user or user retention. And even in the same way, like you might want one style or one AI, like let's say tool for one project, then you want to move on to something else. So when we start thinking about, okay, well, where is demand? And one is around there's unless you're in school already, like right now, or you work at a major company where you are C-suite or you have a large budget for lunch and learns, you're not getting upskilled in AI. So that means most SMB, most like creative professionals, most independent filmmakers, even companies like A24 is an independent production company. Those places, well, I mean, A24 has a like large budget, but those places and those creators and those industries and those business and entrepreneurs have to either figure it out themselves or find a way to it. A lot of people are starting to do that. You see Runway had their community program, OpenAI is launching a community program. There's a lot of kind of like really, really big corporations. Google, Microsoft, they're infamous, right? They put a whole building in the middle of a city. And so what that not only does is it's allowing people to experiment, understand, educate, and learn, but then they're also building trust with that person to use their product. So our goal is two ways. Like, yes, we are our own project, but we've been working with Livepeer like very closely for almost 2.5 years, especially around AI. And my thought here is like there's an amazing opportunity around the transcoding plus the AI pipelines. But if no one knows what it is, how to use it, or why they should use it, then it doesn't matter at all. And so what we can do in the educational period is help figure out what people who are scared that their jobs are just going to be thrown away, how they could actually start to use it, build their own workflows. These things are going to look very different than a traditional developer infrastructure going to the docs and like start coding with npm install. And so some of those things we have good alpha on because I'm like I'm I yeah, we have these kind of like Discord, and anon names and whatever, which I actually am glad I keep in Web3. But I have like extremely extensive network across all of the creative sector, like in the US and in Europe and abroad, like top tier people. So I know what to do in terms of how to approach them to potentially have them be involved in things. And I've also worked as part of those industries. So I understand where we are at this point of like everything is coming to destroy me and no one's actually giving any kind of like um support or understanding in this upskilling to that large group. And that's the group of innovators. Like if you see what happened with marketing, we went from like the marketing agents make this ad campaign and then it's blasted all over the city and people buy things. But what happened was we have influencers now. Influencers are actually marketing and they are the gate between the actual product and the end consumer. And so by using the influencer network, you get a larger group of people than that company would alone because they have no trust. And so what we are thinking is, okay, if you are able to in the middle work with SMB, professional creatives, professional independent production companies, people who have distribution across those things, help them understand what they can do, how they can do it, how they can build it, give them those tools, right? So this is like, yeah, we're doing this workshop on storytelling and we're using the Laura's from Livepeer's network, and this is how this is actually working. And our task today is we're going to put together a full storyboard using like the real-time pipeline or Laura style consistency or what are these things, so that not only do they learn, but then they're already using these tools. And so that's just like a wide stretch. And those deliverables include the 12 short form videos and 6 long form videos, which will look, as I said in the document, more like masterclass and less like Encode Club, which is not a slight. It's just like in terms of style and audience and reach, right? It's like they're aimed at two different groups of people, and in terms of even how they're processing information. So there's going to be this initial content, this educational content, and then on top of that, we are looking at education into experience. So like imagine this line that's going up because I don't think it was able to say, but in the normal forum post, we actually had a diagram and we were talking about the Industrial Revolution, which is like this transformation of raw materials into a product. And so what we actually put in there was this idea of what happens in this new AI transformation, AI revolution in a 3-sector model. And so first you have the primary, which is like the education application layer. Then you're able to, you have the application layer, then you have this education, the R&D, which is the knowledge, and then you have experience. So the actual journey, not only for a user to be using the product, but someone to understand in a bigger picture why they would use AI or what's cool about it, comes from providing those things. So for me, the two are hand in hand, and the byproduct is that we have case studies and that we have market research, and all of those things that we build in a sort of like small group and framework can then be scaled, can bring in new people, can look at how we can collaborate together. Like an outcome that I would say would be ideal in my head would be we're able to build frameworks with people that we know outside of blockchain and crypto as well. So we're not only bringing them in, but also really looking at how things can scale in the real world and where they're at, be able to execute the things that we've put in place. And then in 6 months from now, which is basically Can, Lion, and ECC, have the ability to potentially work with Livepeer in a larger group of communities and cultural moments and have something together in chapter 2 that could be something even like a sit down in Cannes that's like an educational experience. I went to something during Dutch Design Week called Poetics of Prompting. I'm going to see if I can find a link. And it was basically like an exhibition that really walks you through like what is prompting, which again, people actually don't know. Like we live in a world where 24% of the graduates from the US high schools right now have writing proficiency. They're large language models, but people don't have writing proficiency, and we don't want to do anything in this education or experience layer to help them see that. And I think not we in general, but this is a big gap missing. And so when you don't do that, who gets to control the educational narrative also changes. I think this is why you can see the stuff like the TikTok going crazy, because everyone knows TikTok is an amazing viral tool to build like you can go viral with anything on TikTok. So that's why a lot of these coins going viral with pump.fun and all these things. There's no real education. So you went from like something that could be funny to like, are people really like maybe like punching their baby? And that's also because they don't actually maybe have another idea of what crypto is or AI is or all these things other than what they're served by existing algorithms. So I think I'm talking a lot, as you can tell, I'm passionate. But in terms of our like clear deliverables, let's say 3rd of December, June 3rd, which is pre-ECC, pre-Cannes Lion, which is something I would also love to talk about. How can we actually leverage that moment? Because that's like Cannes Lion is a huge non-crypto thing happening 1 or 2 weeks right before ECC, and it would make so much sense to try to leverage both of those audiences with something in a place in that space that can actually get return on the investment versus some like meetup or necessarily like cocktail hour. So we'll have the 12 short form, the 6 long form. Through the public experiences, we're looking at 2 to 3. The reason why we don't know is because some of those things are based on relationships we have that we're working on that are still new-ish, like Music Tech Netherlands. That's a new relationship that's becoming much closer to us. Music Tech Netherlands is part of Music Tech Europe, which is now a new conglomerate that's been made by the European Union to facilitate emerging tech in music. So by being early and a partner there and introducing Livepeer to an extensive network out, this is people start, oh, where do I go? Midjourney. Oh, actually you can build your whole workflow in this other place, and there's now this really nice, creative friendly, craft native UX for me to go in and just do what I need to do. I don't need to get overwhelmed because I don't understand what the docs mean or where to go or what's Comfy UI. Like these are also people that need to be met with efficiency in their current workflows. And one of the biggest problems that I see, and now you see also on Twitter, a lot of like, oh, the idea of the AI movie studio, maybe it was a bit of a lost cause, like it's a race to the bottom. And it's like, yeah, if you don't actually meet all the hundreds of thousands of creators who work professionally every day right now with the problems they're facing with AI, and we go straight to another group that isn't necessarily even monetizable yet, but are still in the novelty phase, which is like normal user person number 2 who doesn't ever only post on Facebook. If we skip them, then we're losing out on innovation, people to come into the network to build. And this is an opportunity, I think, to also reach them. So I keep going around the delivers. I'm just going to type them because I start typing and I get excited. So I'm just going to type them in the chat so we can see them here.
Yeah, I appreciate the passion. I have one follow-up question. You mentioned 3 groups. You said you're looking at educating, or at least within what you said, you mentioned developers, the average user who's scared about AI, and you mentioned big companies. Out of those 3, who are you really targeting with education? Like, who is your main focus? Like, I think it's really important to like know that with this SBE, you know how to get to those people and educate them, so you're not just shooting in the wind. If there's anything you could talk about there, like who do you really want these videos and this information and these live events to hit?
Yeah, sure. This is SMB line. To me, SMB is like actor, independent production company, influencer, professional athlete who doesn't actually like own the team. Anyone who isn't at enterprise level, who's working either they have their own, like every brand is a business now, right? So every actor, all these people. So like when you talk about them as like their own category, they're really a brand, which is SMB, and that's our focus because that's the group that's going to get the most left out. The users will be happy with whatever they get at the end because they never had choice in technology to most degree. It just shows up, right? Like I didn't know that, I didn't even know about computers, and then I read one in a magazine and I got excited and got a computer. And so I think there you have this group where it's like they're going to wind up, they go on YouTube. There's going to be outliers in that group that like do cool stuff. And then you're going to have all the enterprise, which if you check like some of the Microsoft stats and things, like almost all like professional level C-suite, they're already upskilled, right? Most of these companies are either building their own like LLMs to curate in-house like the data that they already have, or working on their own workflows, like when we're talking about super enterprise people. And so they're also thinking about how they can sell those data because all the AI is going to run out of data. So they're thinking about how can they package that and then sell that, like Lionsgate, all these films companies, etc. So once again, you have all the people at the enterprise top level, all the people in the user group, and then you have this really large group in the middle who is actually driving economy, innovation, change, and doesn't have access unless they're in school right now, basically. And even then, a lot, like in Sweden, for instance, it's now mandatory. There's an AI class, I think. Like I think it's only for seniors, but it's mandatory. And they only had 5 teachers in the whole country who were qualified to be able to begin teaching this quarter. So yeah, so that's our main group. I feel the ways that we can get to them is, one, I am one of them, and I'm surrounded by an extensive network of them. 2, the partners we have been bringing in are also surrounded by an extensive network of those. So that's what like that Svensk Live is, which is in charge of 200 youth organizations in Sweden. Will, who I mentioned and is in the chat, he is a design partner, and also helping with education. And he is Time AI most influential 100 from this year. He'll be doing his BBL Drizzy musical at the planetarium during Basel, and he has like a whole other group of people that he is and communities that he is already organically a part of, that then by default start to process next to this. And then we also go after them, like as you solidify the relationship with Music Tech Netherlands. Okay, how does that happen? Well, for one, I'm doing a class, like an AI mapping class on Thursday, I believe it is, with like Professor Music Innovation in Holland, plus the head of research for AIX design, plus like 4 other people. And then they asked me to be on a panel today during Eurosonic, which is in the beginning of January. Eurosonic is the largest industry music event in all of the Netherlands. So the goal there, because there's an offset conference, this is all going back to this education experience, is to be able to present in a workshop for people how they actually can use it, how these things can be a part of their creative process at a high level, not at just like, oh, I made a cat and now I put it on the internet for NFT money, and then you can train the model and then make more NFT money from it. Like really helping people see, okay, if it's a real-time pipeline, okay, where am I actually using real-time? Where could I like go crazy and innovate so weird with real-time now that I know it exists and I have like credits and someone to help teach me that? Those things are like we can't really predict, but the group that I'm like most like our target is with this SVE is this SMB group. And I see them left out everywhere. I see them left out in crypto. I see them left out in this AI revolution. And I mean, there's 2 things that happen, right? Like no one helps them. You get a couple flukes on the side, and then at the end, like all the enterprise gets what they want because no one was really that disruptive in the middle or educated people who could have done it. They just didn't have access. Or you have this ability to start showing, oh, this is a way that you can also like bring new people to the table who can be also become builders. I'm a creative who turned builder. If you want to check my GitHub from the last year and a half, it's insane. I went from like I don't even know what npm install is to like full things on the internet deployed. And there are more people that I see get really caught up. And right now the moment becomes, well, you don't never need to code because you can just use cursor. But like not really. Like you still need to know primitives and understanding of that to get to the other part. But it's like, is there a workflow in the middle so someone who gets really freaked out about development but is incredibly smart and has a lot to offer can come feel like they have a safe space to fail and also and as a result come back with something super innovative. And so that's for this SMB. And in the SMB, you also use the experience to showcase to a larger public. The larger public for all intents and purposes of what I've seen or I see in my networks, is absolutely hates AI. That's like just the take it feels like. So hopefully that was a bit helpful.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think what I'm hearing based on the proposal as well is this is both education and network, and they go hand in hand. And I think the value there is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that you have this network of people and businesses. I forget what you SMB. I'm not familiar with that term, but all these people who need this education and are um, sort of exceptional individuals and entities, and you want to deliver that education to them. Correct?
Yes, and I think that group is very large, and that's why the SPE makes sense, because we build out frameworks that help people understand, like, how do you make a budget for an event? How do you create a workshop? What are the things that people need to know? Like, what is the market research? And so then not only do we have that to people in the next group as we're going to try to get partners, right? Because the problem that I think, or challenge I think, is like everyone wants to partner, but then it's like nothing really happens. But it's like, okay, we can go to partners with an proactive plan. Hey, we have proactive case studies, we have proactive people that we can work with. We want to actually scale this to 3 more countries, or to do a really large event in South by Southwest London with a legacy act, or we want to really do agents like it, and those things are hard to, like, as you know, the space is moving so fast, a bit hard to 100% commit to. Like, you should tell me I'm crazy if I tell you what I'm going to do in 9 months from now in AI. But I think there's a middle part where we can get to, and then by it's still just being what, Q2, end of Q2 basically, or beginning of Q2, middle or whatever, when our first part is over. That gives us all of the rest of next year, after we've already done this part, to continue to elevate what is happening. And so that means by 2026, this is already like solid, and this can grow. If by byproduct, even if it isn't an SB that continues through here, it will have served numerous people at a time when they needed it, and shown disruptive capabilities with Livepeer's name on it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cool. All right. Great. So yeah, well, thank you, Origin, for sharing all that. This it's great to see that put a lot of thought into the proposal, and I hope that people get value out of it and can make an educated decision. As I mentioned, head over to the thread and answer or read the answers to the questions, and yeah, hopefully we can get voting going ahead. I wonder if is Marco in here? For those that using the orchestrator siphon script, I'm going to be testing out the voting capabilities of it on the node, on my standalone node here, just after this. So hopefully we can use that. So I think it's been pushed. Thank you, Marco, for that optionality of voting on a treasury without having to download the Go Livepeer and run the client and doing all that stuff. So, as well as not having it imported in Meta. Okay, let's continue on. We got a couple other topics. A topic I had was actually around the LPT treasury amount, or the LPT treasury itself. So there was discussion about whether we should cut off funding to the treasury. It's kind of getting too big, or how we should revamp the treasury. All these types of questions. I just wanted to mention that I believe there is the 750,000 LPT cap on the treasury, and we are, I think, roughly about 180 days away from reaching that cap. And with the amount of proposals that have come in, and the amount of proposals that we kind of foresee coming in, I have a strong feeling we're probably going to hit that cap. And in doing so, all that excess overflow, so 10% of those LPT rewards, I believe, will then be rediverted back to orchestrators and delegators. I just want to get people's opinion on the idea of having a treasury that is fully capped. If we make a proposal, it would basically drain it temporarily until it increases again. How that affects the percentage calculation on the Explorer, and these kinds of things. So Yeah, does anyone else have an opinion on kind of the Treasury reaching the cap and the implications?
Just chiming to say that you're right. There is a cap that's a movable parameter of 750K LPT. I would also add, I don't think they're here on the call right now, but I know the GovWorks sort of pre-proposal is aimed at creating an SPE that literally is trying to focus on more effectively and efficiently, like allocating that capital out of the treasury into really effective uses and getting the things that we need funded. I know you know there's demand for a liquidity SPE, a demand gen focused SPE, a security council and grants, security council and bounty program SPE, these sorts of things. And they're running to try and get organized to get that funding allocated to the stuff we need to good teams that are there to build on it. So fingers crossed. Hopefully, it doesn't mean it's a given that we hit that cap immediately and some funding gets allocated out of it. But you're right, we are trending towards hitting it. In the next half year or so.
Yeah, Doug, could you explain to people that don't know, like, what is, like, who or what is GovWorks? What is their mandate? I'm still getting introduced. So what is that initiative?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm the person to best represent it or speak to it, but I know Rich in particular on the ecosystem growth team recognize the need. Hey, we have all of this funding and we have all this stuff we need built. It's a huge unlock if we can, organize great teams and support them and applying and doing all the plumbing behind getting the funding that they need and hitting their milestones and unlocking more funding, et cetera. And so I think GovWorks was just the name of a potential SPE that would be formed around this with some leadership. I think Stable Lab is a sort of governance facilitation group from Web3 in general that's working on this. And the idea is if you have someone who owns it, if they have goals of getting funding allocated out of the SP or out of the treasury and making positive effect, then that's sort of what it takes. It takes an owner and it takes dedicated execution. And so I think GovWorks is sort of the name of the project that's being put in place to try and work on this. I think there's information in the forum. I think they've been participating in the governance channel and other channels, including with the assisting the OriginStory proposal that we were just talking about, and facilitating some of the treasury chats as well.
Cool. Yeah, no, I'll have to reach out and see if they'll do a Q&A about it and get more information to the rest of us on kind of the process. And or I think they'll probably do that in the treasury chat, so don't want to step on their toes.
Yeah, I don't think it's like a big, like we have to change everything. I think they're literally trying to make it easier and more clear. Like, for example, there's no central place where people can go to understand, like, what's the template for a proposal? How do I make a proposal? Like, what does good look like versus not look like? So I think they're creating a wiki and an information source for that. They're trying to create the cadence for the treasury chat so people know when to show up and talk about the proposal and get information. They're trying to help people write proposals and basically, if you want to make a big contribution, but maybe you're not someone who knows how to make the proposal, or you're not political in terms of marshaling the votes you need, or that sort of thing. Maybe some of that can be eased and facilitated while you focus on the impact you're trying to make, whether that's building something or growing Livepeer in some way, or education, or whatever your mode of contribution is.
Cool. Right.
I do think your questions about what happens if we hit the 750K number are applicable, whether it's today or in the future. Just so people know what would happen, as you said, currently the parameter says 10% of the tokens go into the treasury each round. That number would just drop to 0, and therefore all the tokens minted each round would be split amongst all of the reward calls, the orchestrators and the delegators. So rewards would go up. But either of those parameters can be moved, so you can sort of restart a contribution percentage by raising that up again, and you can move the ceiling for the max tokens that go into the treasury. Though you probably wouldn't want to move that ceiling until some of those funds in the treasury were allocated out.
Yeah, is the Explorer hard coded with the 10%? Like if we hit it, is it going to incorrectly reflect your rewards for a year? Or do we is it built into the contract that we can figure out the reward?
Good question. I can't speak to the exact implementation of the Explorer. I would say good would look like if it read the value from the smart contracts. Hard coding it as 10% would be making an incorrect assumption because it can move around.
Right. Okay. Well, that'll be an exciting day because I just think that if delegators come to the network, 10% of all inflation goes to the treasury. That 10% gets redirected to delegators, but really it's amplified because only 45% of the network is staked. So that actually turns out to be more like a 20% increase on your ROI on the dashboard. And so if one day you show up and it's showing, 20% more, and the next day it's showing 0% more, and it's because a treasury proposal went through for a week and it's now adjusting, that can cause some confusion. So I'm just kind of curious about that. OriginStory, you're unmuted. You're kind of yeah. Anyway, that was just kind of one of my so I think we'll just cross that bridge when we get to it.
I would say our goal should be there's a lot to build. There's a lot of great people here who want to help build stuff and contribute. Let's get effective at getting organized and getting the funding to everyone that wants to and can contribute and make a positive impact. Because there's no shortage of work to be done. So it's just putting those pieces together.
Yeah, of course. With that being said, also I think the treasury is broken. N was saying that having a hard time loading it, and I think I am too. So I'm unable to treasury.
What do you mean the treasury is broken? What can't you view?
Just the Explorer on the treasury page just isn't loading. Proposals. I don't know.
Oh, interesting. I saw the proposal there before. I wonder. What happened? Okay.
People seeing the same issue.
Usually when this happens, it's like some third-party service, like
the graph,
subgraph or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and one comment about Tidy, you asked about if the inflation is from the contract. The 10%, it is. I just did 9 months ago. So it should look at the graph for that. I can give you the code.
Okay, here we go. Runa says, good to have treasury. Maybe too high overall as we never get reduction, only increase. As to maintain long-term token value, we need more sustainable solution in tokenomics. Yeah, I mean, personally, I don't mind the tokenomics now. I think they're incentivized and aligned and encourage people to stake. And I think if once we hit 50% and all of a sudden the staking, rewards go down, then I think the conversation changes. Yeah, but yeah, there's definitely lots of interesting discussion around tokenomics, but that shouldn't come it's non-trivial to change tokenomics in big drastic ways. Okay.
Yeah, on that topic, I would just say a lot of holders have mentioned that to me, and they have ideas for maybe first steps to make sure inflation doesn't run away and get out of control. And I would look for some pre-proposals and discussion and community calls around that in the coming weeks, because I know it's on people's mind.
Cool.
Big topic, but just giving a preview.
Excellent. All right, let's continue on. We've got one more topic ahead of us, which is Osman, which is who is driving demand. So yeah, Osman, I know you're not in chat here, or is he? Nope. Is he? Yeah. So I can't. It's hard for me to elaborate on that question if you're not in chat. I'll invite you up to speak if you want to kind of mention what you're talking about, but I can try extra. Oh, there you go. Yeah, you want to explain or kind of propose your question to the community, and we can talk about it.
Yes, hi. I mean, there's an OPS demand increase for the last few months, and we were all kind of expecting that, and I'm very happy to see that it was fulfilled. You know, because I was asking about this big client all along, but I know that Livepeer Studio can't say anything. I just wish, if we could hear something about upcoming demand increase, if any. If this will sustain or if this will even go higher. But I know that there's this deals that are made by the studio, and I think they are driving it. So I was just hoping maybe 1%, if there's anything anyone could say about it.
Yeah, why don't I just give like a high level, unofficial couple of facts that I think maybe address what you're always asking about here. Couple things. A little bit of a historical context. I think a lot of people probably know this. I would say, you go back years ago and we said, okay, the cost-effective transcoding network alone is not purely enough to have people just show up lined up out the door to be trying to build direct against the network and use this. It looks like you actually have to build product and sales and support and go to market. And turns out the product that people were requesting and wanted to integrate with wasn't just a open transcoding network. They wanted an end-to-end streaming solution. And so the Livepeer Studio product was born, and Livepeer Inc. built a team around it and said, we'll build an end-to-end streaming platform that's integrated with the Livepeer network and go out and try and sign up, Web3 users and scaled streaming users. And that has, let me fast forward, say it's worked great to an extent. It onboarded a lot of initial demand. It's added more and more legitimate and scaled platforms. The network and product has gotten a lot more mature and reliable over the years. And you keep referencing this new customer, which was something that was alluded to that would drive more demand on the network. Again, with, as you alluded to, like, it's a customer, there's contract and stuff. I can't be like promoting it, but it's onboarded significant demand, and that was good because it grew usage on the network and it replaced some demand that was lost when other larger customers, went out of business or went offline. And it's been good for the network. High level, I'd say some more traffic will likely come from that as they grow or onboard more of their users. But I would not expect like a order of magnitude increase just from this one potential user, if that's something you're waiting for. I think, a good chunk of it's been onboarded, and like I said, that's grown the usage and replaced a lot of lost usage. And also, the fees that they were paying to the network came down, so their usage, even though it was much higher than other users, it grew fees a bit, but didn't grow it exponentially. So good outcomes from that. Probably no order of magnitude increase coming from that alone. Now, let's fast forward to the current day. I would encourage you to read, I think it's one of the first paragraphs in the blog post announcing Livepeer Cascade. And it addresses, growth through this end-to-end streaming product. Livepeer Studio has been like slow but steady, right? And it's a competitive, crowded market. Turns out price reduction for transcoding alone is not like as hair on fire of an urgent need for all these scaled players as maybe we would hope it would be. And so you continue to fight that battle, onboard more usage, slow and steadily over time up and to the right. Things will be okay. But I think there's bigger, more exciting opportunity, and I think that's worth it's riskier, but it's worth a shot at 10xing fees or 100xing fees on the network. The sort of growth that we all want to see to keep the GPUs humming. And that's really leaning into something we can be the leader in, something that's new and innovative, and there's going to be a huge growing market instead of just a sort of competitive consolidating market. And that's the opportunity to actually be a leader in the way that real-time AI is going to impact the future of video. And that's outlined in the Cascade post, and it's opportunity not just to grow the fees, but to actually create a network effect and a big community where we're really at the cutting edge of all of these new real-time AI pipelines that are developed. And what's that mean for like who's driving demand and what they're focused on? I would say a lot of the team that was sort of making the end-to-end streaming platform a little bit better and a little bit better every day in incremental ways, or trying to just onboard that next user in a big 6-month sales cycle. A lot of that team is focused on like, let's make this big bet and let's build this product around real-time streaming AI, and let's find the market for who wants to build on that and use that, and try and 10 100x the usage on the platform, while at the same time, of course, like fielding inbound interest and supporting existing and new inbound users of studio product. I think a lot of the unified attention is outlined in Cascade, and I think there's a little bit of a like, we have to build it first, and moving really quickly to build it, coming up upon targeting a December technology release, so just a couple weeks away. But I think you'll see a lot of the demand gen efforts go into that, and it won't just be the team that was working on Studio. It's because it's pretty community oriented and supporting all the hackers and developers that are building here. I think our whole ecosystem of SPEs, our whole Discord community will be really like far more instrumental in supporting and onboarding and growing a community of like hundreds and thousands of developers building on that. Whereas, with end-to-end streaming and scale platforms, it needed to be a lot more like B2B, enterprisey, sort of company oriented, which I don't think suited this broader open project quite as well as this community oriented mission. So I'll pause there, stop there. I hope that's a little color that's helpful.
Yeah, great explanation, and yeah, appreciate the update, Doug, and sharing your opinion. Osman, does that answer your question? No worries. Okay, I think that's it. Do we have any last topics we want to cover before we sign off? Anyone have anything that we haven't covered that they can think of? All right, well, we've gone through all the topics. I'd like to thank everyone for coming to today's Water Cooler Chat, where we talk about all the things that make Livepeer great and working together to make Livepeer the open and decentralized video infrastructure for the world. Appreciate you all being here. We will see you all next week. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks all.